What if, starting right now, the Earth lost 1% of its oxygen every single second? You'd have about 20 seconds, not just to hold your breath, but to watch the world completely unravel. This isn't some slow burn apocalypse, it's a terrifyingly fast plunge into chaos. And it's not just about suffocation, it's the instantaneous collapse of our environment. Because what happens when a fundamental piece of our existence just vanishes is far more shocking than you can imagine. Oxygen, the invisible gas making up just 21% of our air, is the silent partner in nearly everything. To remove it isn't just to take the air from our lungs, it's to pull the pin on a grenade the size of a planet. The first 5 seconds, the initial shock. The countdown begins. 1, 2, 3. You wouldn't feel it as a lack of air, not at first. Our bodies are tough enough to handle a few moments without a fresh breath. What you would feel is a bizarre and sudden change in pressure. In just 5 seconds, the atmosphere has lost 5% of its oxygen. Since oxygen makes up about a fifth of the air, this causes a total atmospheric pressure drop of about 1%. Doesn't sound like much, right? But it's happening at an impossible speed. The first thing you'd notice is a sudden, painful pop in your ears. The rapid pressure change over the full 20 seconds would be like being instantly teleported from sea level to an altitude of 2,000 meters, or about 6,500 feet. For many, that initial jolt would be enough to rupture eardrums, a sharp, disorienting pain that serves as the first hint of the catastrophe unfolding. You glance around, confused, clutching your ears. The sky is already changing. The familiar blue is shifting to a deeper, bruised indigo. Our sky is blue because sunlight scatters off all the molecules in the atmosphere, especially nitrogen and oxygen. With a chunk of that oxygen gone, there's less for the light to bounce off of. The sun itself would seem harsher, its light more direct. Around the world, the first signs of mechanical trouble begin. Internal combustion engines, all designed for air that's 21% oxygen, would start to feel the strain. They wouldn't fail completely, not yet, but their performance would falter. Pilots in the sky would see a subtle but deeply unnerving drop in engine efficiency on their instruments. For us on the ground, the air is still perfectly breathable, but the planet is already reacting, and the clock is ticking. We're only 5 seconds into the great unraveling. Seconds 6 to 10, the cascade begins. At the 6th second mark, things go from strange to terrifying. We've now lost 10% of the planet's atmospheric oxygen. The concentration has dipped to about 19%. While healthy people might only feel a little lightheaded, like they're at a high altitude, the world's machinery is now actively dying. As oxygen levels dip toward 18%, internal combustion engines start to have real problems. They can no longer burn fuel efficiently. Across every highway in every city, cars and trucks sputter, cough, and then fall silent. A planet-wide traffic jam begins, not with the sound of horns, but with the eerie silence of dead engines. The age of the automobile just ended in under 10 seconds. Far above, the situation is infinitely worse. Jet engines, which need enormous amounts of oxygen to create thrust, begin to fail. They're already operating in thin air, and now that air is being starved of its key ingredient. The fires inside their massive turbines flicker and die. Across the globe, thousands of commercial flights carrying more than 1 million people suddenly become multi-hundred-ton gliders. They begin a long, silent, and unstoppable descent. At the same time, another invisible shield starts to fail. High in the stratosphere, the ozone layer, our planet's sunscreen, is made of O3, which is 3 oxygen atoms bonded together. As the basic O2 molecules vanish from the air, the creation of new ozone screeches to a halt, and the existing layer starts to break down. It wouldn't vanish instantly, but it would thin at an alarming rate. The sun's rays become more dangerous with every passing moment. If you were outside, you'd feel a strange tingling on your skin, the start of a severe, otherworldly sunburn. The very sunlight that gives us life is turning on us. Any open flames, campfires, gas stoves, candles would flicker and die. Combustion, the reaction that has powered human progress for millennia, is becoming impossible. The world is getting quieter, darker, and colder. We're 10 seconds into the great unraveling.
Seconds 11 to 15, the world crumbles. Here's where our thought experiment has to bend the laws of physics a bit. So far, we've only removed oxygen from the air, But what if the force doing the removing got more aggressive? What if it started pulling oxygen out of solids too? If that happened, the very ground beneath your feet and the buildings around you would betray you. Oxygen isn't just in the air. It's a critical binding agent in materials like concrete. It's a key part of the silicate compounds that give concrete its incredible strength. If you could magically pull that oxygen out, concrete would lose its integrity. It would basically turn to dust. At the 15-second mark, every concrete structure on the planet would begin to fail. Bridges, dams, skyscrapers, highways, all of them would start to crumble. The Hoover Dam would groan and fracture. In cities from New York to Shanghai, windows would shatter as the concrete skeletons of buildings dissolved. You'd be witnessing the end of the modern world, not by fire or flood, but by universal decay. But the horror isn't just in our cities. Here's another strange chemical fact. Most untreated metals are protected from each other by a thin, invisible layer of oxidation. It's what keeps them from bonding together on contact. Without any atmospheric oxygen to maintain this layer, any two pieces of untreated metal touching would instantly fuse together. This is called cold welding. In factories, machinery would grind to a halt as moving parts welded themselves solid. Inside crumbling buildings, metal rebar would fuse together wherever it touched, creating bizarre sculptures in the collapsing debris. For anyone still conscious, the world has become a surreal nightmare. The sky is now a deep, dark violet. The air is thin and hard to breathe, with oxygen levels plunging towards levels that cause fainting. And everywhere, there's a deafening, grinding, planetary roar as the entire built world comes apart at the seams. Seconds 16 to 20, annihilation. The final 5 seconds are a descent into total oblivion. We cross the 16-second mark, and the sky is now almost black. Nitrogen still scatters some light, but with most of the oxygen gone, the stars would begin to appear, cold and faint, in the darkened heavens. All aerobic life is in its final moments. At oxygen levels below 10%, consciousness is lost almost immediately, followed by death. For billions of humans and trillions of animals, the end comes as a final, silent exhalation into an atmosphere that can no longer support them. But now our thought experiment takes its final, physically impossible leap. What if it's not just the oxygen in the air, but every single atom of oxygen on Earth that vanishes? First, water. H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. You strip away the oxygen, and every ocean, lake, river, and ice cap on the planet instantly becomes a colossal cloud of free hydrogen gas. Earth's oceans would effectively flash boil into space, leaving behind a dry, salt-crusted husk. Then the Earth's crust. It's nearly 47% oxygen by mass, locked up in minerals. Removing this elemental binder would cause a geological collapse on a scale that's hard to comprehend. Rocks would unravel. Mountains would crumble into vast plains of silicon, aluminum, and iron dust. The continents themselves would lose their structure. And us? The human body is about 65% oxygen by mass. We wouldn't just suffocate, we would literally disintegrate. The oxygen atoms holding ourselves together would vanish, leaving behind a pile of carbon, hydrogen, and other elements. Life wouldn't just cease to be, it would be deconstructed. 21 seconds. It's over. Silence. What's left isn't Earth. It's a ghost planet, a barren rock utterly alien to the world that existed just a moment before. Its surface is a uniform powder, the remains of its crust. The Grand Canyons, the soaring mountains, the sprawling cities have all been reduced to a smooth, featureless landscape of dust. There's no real atmosphere left, just a thin shell of nitrogen and argon, creating a near vacuum at the surface. There is no water, only a vast, expanding cloud of hydrogen gas enveloping the planet, slowly bleeding into space. The sun beats down with pitiless intensity. With no ozone layer, lethal radiation sterilizes the surface. From the moon, an observer would have seen our blue marble first darken, its vibrant colors fading to purple, then black. They'd have seen the oceans vanish in a planetary flash and the continents blur into a uniform dusty sphere. Earth, the shining beacon of life in the solar system, would have gone dark. This new Earth is a sterile, dead world. a tomb, continuing its silent orbit around the sun. This scenario is, of course, pure science fiction. No known process could ever trigger such a thing. But as a thought experiment, it's a powerful reminder of how deeply we depend on the invisible world around us. We take for granted the very element that not only fills our lungs but is also woven into the concrete of our cities, the water of our oceans, and the very cells of our bodies. To imagine its sudden absence is to truly appreciate its constant presence. It shows how our world isn't just a rock with life on it, it's a single interconnected system. The air, the water, and the land are all part of the same life support machine. This 20-second countdown to oblivion reveals that we aren't just living on Earth, we are a part of it, and its fate is our own. What other planetary what-if scenarios blow your mind? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed exploring this hypothetical world, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching.